Jason is here from Vanderbilt University. Tanina Rothstein is a professor at Georgetown University Law Center, and Miguel Willis, who is at Future of the Profession Initiative. And so a wonderful lineup of folks. We have an hour, so each group gets 20 minutes to present their project and also leave some time for question on the specific project. And so I think I will turn it over to Jeremy to tell us about legal Pythia. Jeremy, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well. All right, Jeremy, take it away. And again, you have 20 minutes, so please be sure to perhaps confine your presentation to about maybe 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and then leave some time for folks to ask questions. All right, thank you all.
Amazing. Okay, great. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeremy Borman. I am the CEO and one of the founders of Legal Pythia. We want that lawyers arrive at their desk with more time on their hands through legal information analyzation. Now, I want you to meet Laura. She is a lawyer working in commercial or corporate law in the United States. She's around 23 to maybe 40 years old, and her main goal is to be more efficient. She works around 50 to 80, maybe also 100 hours per week. So Laura is about to prepare legal information or even a legal case for her client or even for a court, but really manually organizing this legal information and categorizing this information is really problematic for her because it just takes too much time. The amount of time wasted is crazy. Let's say we take one law firm in California. Each lawyer who works there annually wastes around 8,019 hours. This time can just be spent better on client consulting and actually solving the legal issue. Well, the consequences are lawyers are really stressed, they're overworked, they still have to manually search through this information, let's say an NDA or even an annual report, and then compare it to market standards. So it just takes too much time away from them. How do we know this is a problem? Well, we talked to over 150 lawyers around the globe and indeed found out that manually organizing legal information was really problematic for them. And you might ask, why is this the right time to solve this problem? Well, the cost reduction for each lawyer could be really saved. It could be $435 per lawyer per each law firm. The current pandemic has led to a catalyzation of adoption of legal technology around the world. And because of that, there has been an increase in legal spend on legal technology by 26% alone in the last year. So our solution is a web-based software that uses explainable artificial intelligence technology to organize the uploaded legal information. Again, it could be a legal document or other things, and then explain to the end users why it did so, meaning why it made certain organizational methods, why it structured the data the way it did, and why it made also certain numerical rankings. In addition to that, it really also compares the documents to each other. You can find duplications or contradictions. And then again, the explainable artificial intelligence tells to the end users why it did so. Lastly, it summarizes the key issues of the information uploaded for the end users to have a short summary to share with clients or colleagues. So we are currently building the prototype at the moment. Basically how it works on the left side, you can upload a minimum of 2 documents. They can be any type of file, so PDF, text, docx. You then have the first feature, which is basically an overview of how similar or contradictory the documents are. Green is similarity, red is contradictory, and it shows in percentages. So this means basically the lawyer who has 2 documents and not really a lot of time, he uploads the documents and then he can see, okay, my documents are 100% the same. I don't have to check them more. Well, when he does or she does have to check them more, we offer a sentence by sentence comparison, meaning putting each sentence against each other using the Albert or BERT natural language processing models, and then showing if there's a contradiction or a duplication or a similarity, or if these sentences are neutral. And you can see that in the document as well. The last feature is a keyword search. This basically means that the end user can put in any keyword he or she wants to, and then see through the documents for similar keywords. They will be highlighted in colors. You can definitely see different keywords, so you can put in different keywords and then see the similar words highlighted in different colors. For example, yellow, green, and red for the keyword put in. We are still working on the explainable artificial intelligence part. That is our unique selling point. Basically, the common problem around AI solutions is a black box problem. This means that a lot of end users don't really understand what is going on behind the software, why it reached certain decisions or predictions, and that's what we kind of want to combat. We want to give a transparent software solution that the lawyers understand and even the clients understand. Our traction today, well, we are registered as an LLC in Tennessee, and we're also registered as an LLP in the United Kingdom. We've partnered with numerous law firms. One is Mishcon Del Rey in London. We took part in their accelerator program. It's called MDR Lab Launch. We are working together with a Scottish university called the Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen, Scotland. And we're also negotiating for further piloting opportunities and contracts with law firms around the globe. We believe our competitive advantage is the collaboration with the universities who we work together with. This means that we develop new technologies or really further the research that we do in legal technology. We have experience in the common law as well as civil law systems, so we know both systems and we believe that we can serve both systems as well. And lastly, we have a deep understanding in the legal industry. We have numerous advisors who are lawyers from around the world. Our ask to CodeX or even the broader community that is currently listening, we would like to have collaboration opportunities with researchers who might be interested in furthering our projects. We'd love to have partnerships with people who'd be interested. That could be piloting opportunities or even other opportunities as well. And of course, we're looking for funding. We're looking for 100K as a seed round. And we of course want to build our network further. One of the projects that we're also currently working on is a context-based configuration management system. We licensed a patent from NASA for the system and the technology. Basically, this system is able to track enterprise decisions. It's a web-based app, and based on these events or decisions, it puts them in a configuration map, and then it makes assessments based on the events that took place and makes forecasts for the future. Another thing is you might have noticed that Meta AI recently published their language models for the broader AI research community. This is really interesting in the legal field, and we can believe, I think, really great projects can stem from these models. Our team, we have numerous people on our team, so currently 8. Our senior software engineer, Otmane, is currently also here in this call. Nice to see you, Otmane, here as well. He has a lot of experience. He worked on numerous natural language and AI projects. Our CTO, Samuel Kopp, he studied AI and data science at the Maastricht University in the Netherlands. He also has numerous experience in AI programming projects. I studied German law and also have an LLM in corporate and financial law from the University of Glasgow in Scotland. I also interned as a, I would say, technology, media, and telecommunications expert at Linklaters LLP, which is a global leading law firm. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, please contact us. My email is jeremy@legalpythia.co.uk. My phone number is under that email. shoot me a WhatsApp or anything else if you want to. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. This is great. I have two questions. So one, you mentioned that there are already deployments within law firms. I'm curious as to what kind of documents, what kind of contracts people are using your system for to identify contradictions. Is this to like basically assess, sort of revised drafts of documents, or is it maybe in in-house departments for third-party paper that's coming back? How is it used? And then on the explainable part, you said you understand the importance of explainable AI, but you're working on this. And what are your ideas around how do you make your system, which I think is also leveraging data-driven systems and BERT, how can you ensure explainability using, leveraging those techniques? Those are my first questions. And over to you, Al. I'll see if others have in the chat.
Yeah, let me answer the first question, or the first two questions. The first question is a use case that we can imagine is, for example, Elon Musk has an annual report done at his company Tesla, and he wants to compare that with the SEC. He has a lot of problems with the SEC recently, of course, because also other issues. But let's say he has his annual report and he wants to compare this to the market standard. He would go to his M&A lawyer in California or Texas, where he's currently at. He says, okay, I have this annual report. I need to compare that to the market standard to see if I can submit it or if I have problems and have to make changes. So he would upload that document, or even his lawyer would upload that document instead of manually checking that, or even parts of the document. And then, of course, he would compare the document with a market standard, which could be reached through an API with the SEC. They have like a lot of data on the SEC database. And then it would be compared and seen if there's like I said, similarities or contradictions, or if there's like even a quick overview that are 100% the same and they don't have to check, or his M&A lawyers do not have to check that document anymore. And then he can also do certain keyword searches, seeing, okay, which parts of the document are most important, and is there a similarity or not. That's the use case that we imagined with the people that we talked to. The second question with the explainable artificial intelligence part, our goal is to make the software solution with the BERT or a legal BERT model as transparent to the end users as possible. So I think we're not there yet, to be honest, but we want to reach a certain point where the AI just also explains, maybe through a chatbot or through a text on the side, or like a pop-up bubble, pop-up like window, why it made certain decisions, what were the reasonings, what were the legal reasonings. That's really important for us as well, because it's a legal software. And maybe ideally also explaining to end users who do not have a legal background what is happening. That's the end goal. I think for us, it's about developing the BERT or legal BERT a little bit further, and also getting that AI experience or explainable AI experience from outside parties. We work together with the Robert Gordon University, and in that sense, we're collaborating further on the explainable artificial intelligence part. I do hope that answered your questions.
Yeah. So Shesh is asking, what's the precision and recall using BERT?
Okay, let me 1 second. Sorry. To be honest, that's a very, very good question. I am not 100% sure, because it's in a document that I have. I cannot answer that question to you, because I do not code 100% of the stuff. I know it's really embarrassing, but I can shout out a message to you and contact me via email, and I can send you the information, because I have it in a document.
Sounds good. Any other questions from you folks? Yeah, so I think you talked about explainability already, trying to address also Manisha's question, who's asking about that. Well, great. How do you make money? You expect law firms to pay a subscription, or what's the business model?
Yes, there's also another question. Yeah, but yes, the business model is so we imagined a freemium model, which is a model where we give certain features that are needed for free for the first couple of months to onboard as many users as possible, and then also putting in additional features that are necessary, of course, that the market needs, and then making a monthly subscription fee. We imagined kind of a bottom up software as a service approach that is used by companies such as Slack, meaning onboarding as many individual lawyers from like one law firm or one company as possible, and then turning them into like enterprise subscriptions should the individual users be happy, and of course additional enterprise features needed.
Got it. And how did you get your first user, law firm testers? Leo is asking that.
Yeah, we networked a lot. We have an Instagram where we kind of before put in a lot of stories from lawyers around the world. So we told the stories of lawyers around the world through our Instagram, for our blog, and then we reached to a lawyer in India, which we have a good relationship with at the moment as well. Her name is Nitika, and she was happy to test it out with a couple of documents and give us feedback, of course. We're also talking to a law firm in the United Kingdom. They're called Freeze LLP, which we show also the context-based configuration management system to, and the prototype to, and we're also waiting for their feedback as well. So that's still in a conversation. We're still testing it out.
And so maybe the last two questions you can take them in one go. So if you're targeting specific practice areas in law firms, and if there's going to be a subscription model, what do you plan to charge as a monthly subscription?
Yeah, so the first one we were targeting or thinking about also like commercial lawyers, commercial law firms, more medium sized and a little bit smaller before we go into the big law firms, of course, especially lawyers and law firms that work with M&A. I think that is a good area. We did a lot of market research on that, and we think M&A lawyers are in need of our services. Of course, we're doing further validation, but we think like also people who work like commercial law, corporate law, and especially M&A lawyers, the people that we need. For the subscription, we would think about charging, I would say at the most like $50 per month, and that's even a lot. Of course, we looked at the competition, how much they charge as well. So law firms like Logical or Relativity or even Everlaw or Discord in the United States, they charge much more. We're trying to find a middle, so not being the most expensive one, but not being the cheapest one as well. We're trying to convince people with the product, which is this service, which is our main goal.
All right, Jeremy, thank you so much for this overview and introduction. I hope there'll be some investors from this group kind of stepping forward and reaching out to you. I really appreciate you sharing the story of your company. I will give you on behalf of everyone a quick round of applause. And thank you again for joining us. And I will turn it over to our next speaker now, who's Mirak from the Stanford NLP group. Mirak, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I was told that I would be going third, but I would be happy to go second as well.
Oh, okay. So let me see. I got it all mixed up. Is Jason and Tanina, Miguel, are there time constraints? I'm happy, we're happy to have you go next.
Sorry, Roland, I shot you a quick message. So it's going to be Jason and Miguel. And then, because they're on the East Coast, I think.
Okay. All right, sure. Yeah, no problem. My apologies. So let's turn it over to Jason. Jason, it's been a while that we've seen each other. It's great to see you again.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having us back. So we are going to talk about our new proposal, the Judicial Innovation Fellowship Program, with Miguel Willis here, but we're also working with a team of Tanina Rastain, who couldn't be here today, Corey Zarek at Georgetown, and Jamison Dempsey, who I know is a well-known name in the CodeX universe. The presentation is just going to come in two quick parts, and I want to first also apologize to Jeremy. I learned during his presentation that holding Shift Return does not avoid you from hitting send. It just hits send. So I apologize for popping that link in during your presentation. I didn't mean to hijack it. But with that said, Miguel is going to do some table setting on from where we are coming from with this project, and then I'm going to talk about the pilot that we are currently getting off the ground. So Miguel, I will hand it off to you to start.
Yeah, first, I just want to say thank you to Roland, Susan, and the CodeX team for inviting us to speak about this topic. So you all in this space may know that we have a huge access to justice crisis in America. You know, over 30 million individuals each year going to courts unrepresented. Sorry, there may be a connection issue. I'm not sure if you all can hear me. Okay.
I can hear you well.
Okay, great. I've just seen it unstable. So people are entering courts alone. These have real world consequences, right? Not, you know, someone getting kicked out of their house, being evicted, someone unable to get public benefits, bankruptcy, being able to access, you know, and assert their rights as an American in a democracy where the rule of law is stated. Oh, sorry. And so technology, data, design, all have the ability to improve the delivery of legal services and create a justice system that is more responsive to the 21st century. And this is where I think the impetus from the Judicial Innovation Fellows comes from. Like, how can we make a robust justice system that serves the needs of individuals? You know, I will just briefly talk a little bit about my background and where I fit into the picture. Again, my name is Miguel Willis, and you know, currently I'm the innovator in residence at the University of Pennsylvania Future of the Profession Initiative. I'm a founder and executive director of the Access to Justice Tech Fellows Program. Through the Tech Fellows Program, we place current law students within courts, legal aid organizations, and other nonprofit legal services where they spend the summer working on developing a variety of different solutions, from automating document court forms to developing legal portals that allow individuals access to information and other legal resources. We also, some of our fellows over the summer have created pro bono tools, which connect lawyers to clients that are in need of services. So I look at this, you know, through the Access to Justice Tech Fellows Program, we provide training to equip these future lawyers to respond to some of these problems, not just with the black letter of the law, but also designing a more robust system, thinking about that system. Some of our lawyers do go, some of our law students do go out in to transverse to fields and work at the intersection of law and technology and public interest. But we should tap into some of the amazing, wonderful technical expertise in the tech sector, right? Folks at Google, folks at Microsoft, folks at all the, you know, Silicon Valley, and placing them in a position to leverage their expertise, whether that be in service design, whether that be a full stack engineer, whether that be project management or redesigning process, whether that be data visualization. How can we take our nation's top technical experts and place them in a setting which may be in some respects arcane and outdated to improve the delivery and create a more responsive system? So that's our goal with the Judicial Innovation Fellows. Jason will tell you more. I'm happy to be a part of launching the pilot from my background. We worked in the past with several courts through the Access to Justice Tech Fellows program. We work with Alaska courts, Massachusetts, Atlanta. And from those court partners, there is a need for this kind of emergence of law and technology to help streamline systems, improve efficiency and the effectiveness of the court being a partner that can help resolve disputes in an efficient manner, expeditiously, and that is not kind of viewed as an entity that doesn't get public trust, right? So I'll let Jason talk a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of what we're calling the Judicial Fellows Program, and I'm happy to jump in at different points.
Thank you, Miguel. So I want to give you a sense of where we're heading with this idea that Miguel has set up. At its core, we're building a new talent pipeline for tech, data, and process improvement professionals into the justice system, into courts specifically. And we're going to do this over 2 years. The first year is very much a table setting year where we will do landscape analysis to find common structural problems across courts, as well as develop the necessary mechanics to be able to bring in court partners and potential fellows. And then the second year, we will do the first go around of the fellowship, which will be a year placement for these folks in state and tribal courts around the country. At its core for projects, what we're looking at are proposals that are going to be replicable, scalable, and sustainable over the long term, as well as make them open source. What we want to make sure we're doing is not building for idiosyncratic needs of a jurisdiction, but rather build towards the needs that are reflective across courts across the country, many of which that Miguel noted in his remarks. So when we think about types of projects, they could be back-end projects like court data creation and management, or cybersecurity needs for a particular jurisdiction, or front end as well, which could hit on self-help for self-represented litigants, e-filing, the way that online hearings are held, as well as online dispute resolution. As far as the fellows are concerned, we're looking for folks that are mid-career. They can be developers, data scientists, UX, UI folks, process improvement, project managers. It's going to be about marrying the need of the court and the project with the person's background and technical expertise. And at its core, there are two big goals that are coming out of this, one that is social and one that is more professional. On the social side, Miguel really hit on it, is that we're looking to create user-friendly courts across the United States. And we think technology isn't alone in making that happen. There are big process and policy changes that will need to occur as well, but technology is definitely a core component there. Secondly, when we think about the civic tech, or the what are we calling it now, the public interest technology scene, the courts, the justice system has largely been left to the sidelines of what we look at. We see things happening in the administrative agencies. We see things even beginning to happen in legislative branches, but the judiciary has been left behind. And so our goal is to foster a pipeline that people realize that justice technology is a career path. And currently, I don't think that exists. People either luck into this space or they struggle in the darkness without the funding and light on the work that they're doing. And we hope that we will be able to help change that and begin to foster a new career path for people coming out of comp sci programs to get more help, more interest into the justice space itself. And so where we're at now, we are actively fundraising. We are optimistic that we'll be able to start the program sometime later this year. Things are looking good in that regard. And then we will kick things off more properly. The day one proposal, which was our original white paper, as I already mentioned, I accidentally sent earlier and is in the chat if people want to dig more into it. But I'll leave it there so that there's time for questions.
Cool. Thank you so much, Jason and Miguel. This is great and wonderful initiative. And I'm curious, a couple of dimensions. So first of all, how do you select the projects where you want to deploy your fellows in? And then number one, and if you have a project and a fellow, and that fellow is deployed, funded and deployed for a year or two, what kind of help do you give the organization to then turn the work of the fellow into sustained change at the organization, rather than just a project that then fizzles? I thought, maybe you have some thoughts around that.
Sure, and everything that I'm about to say should come with the grain of salt that we are actively figuring out the true answer to these questions. So some of this will be TBD. So I don't want anyone to hold me too accountable to what it is that I'm about to say. To your first question, how do we pick projects? Previously, so Tanina at Georgetown, and then when I taught at Georgetown previously, we both ran courses where we partnered with government or legal aid organizations to build technology projects with law students. And some of the things that we found through that process that were helpful in vetting were making sure that the agency that we were working with already had momentum behind a particular project, and they were looking to level up what they were already working on, which indicated not only interest in potentially funding, but internal capacity to be able to manage such a project. And this was learned because a lot of our early projects in our courses were projects that died on the vine. As soon as the students left and the semester was over, then the project kind of, just rotted. They weren't updated to be in keeping with how laws changed or how process changed at a local court or something like that. Secondly, we're going to be looking for projects, as I said, that are replicable and scalable across jurisdictions. We don't want to be building for the district court in Cincinnati and only for an issue that court is dealing with. We want to be dealing with the way that larger issues, so how data is structured, civil law data is structured in the back end of a courthouse, that can be replicated across the United States. When you think about security needs and the threats that courts face, that can be replicated across the space, as well as how courts and their self-help centers publish information for the public. That is something as well that is a universal need, even if the laws or process change jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Your other question was to how do we help the courts themselves besides just giving them a person? There is extra support and funding from our friends at the Pew Charitable Trust that will be able to offer some support in regards to technical need. As well, a part of our fundraising is to be able to make sure that where there may be a need for software or a piece of hardware that the courts don't have budget for, that we can help at least ameliorate some of that cost to help them along.
Cool. Any other questions for Jason and Miguel? I think, Nonopa's question, I think you just answered. So, and Roberto's question, I think he's asking, where can we follow the progress of the project, which I think is an important question too, since you're talking about making this, sort of generalizable and sharing best practices from one solution to the entire court system. I think the entire community would be curious to know how we can follow.
Absolutely. This is the first time we're talking about the project publicly, and so we do not have all the infrastructure up yet. I will say that I run a newsletter on justice technology issues, which will update how this project is going. And I just put the URL in the chat for people that want to follow there. We will update through there. As well, to the question about who we would hire, people would need to be able to have a work permit for the United States to be considered for the program. We're not able to do visa support in that regard.
Okay. Joshua is asking, I love the concept of using tech to make justice more accessible, increasing efficiency in the system. In this effort, do you find that there's overlap in the voting system?
that would put me out over my skis so far. I can't claim to know much about what the technical infrastructure is of the voting system.
Okay. All right, cool. And Bruce is asking, how does the judicial conference intersect with the program and scaling it?
We are in the process of building our coalition of organizations, which obviously is pulling heavily from the court, judicial, and Office of Court Administrators. So this is all a thing in process where we'll be soliciting feedback and doing convenings and all of that good stuff to make sure that we are heading forward in the most intentional way possible.
Mm-hmm. And so Will's asking, do you see a place for deploying existing off-the-shelf software, or are you mostly focused on creating new tools? And maybe I can ask an add-on to that, what's the role of open source and community building in the context?
Right, so we intend everything to be open source that's developed by our fellows, and we hope that there can be not only a community, we obviously need to build a community amongst the fellows themselves, but as well a larger open source community around the work that we're doing. It would be wonderful. Those do not come easily, from what I understand of other successful open source projects. So
yeah, I would just like to add that while we're kind of going off and creating this new thing, there's also a bunch of existing projects that we can leverage collaboration with. Your partners over at the Legal Design Lab at Stanford are working with courts on innovating processes. They will be a great partner. There's Jason mentioned Pew. And their work in the courts. And so taking not only just kind of creating and building something in a silo, but looking at this from the standpoint of utilizing existing working partners to kind of leverage us forward. I think to the second question, it's a both. If a tool's already made and the implementation of that tool could create substantive impact, or even creating a process to evaluate. There's no process to evaluate what tools, AI tools, are being used in courts that are creating these crazy impacts of bias and all types of things. So I think it could be both.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So there are two more questions. But we sort of we have to turn it over to our next speakers, but maybe we can combine and you could combine both your answer to both questions and perhaps answer in the chat. But the first one is basically, what can judges have the literacy to funnel appropriate cases to your effort, and then what additional training do we need for judges to interact with the software? And maybe a little add-on on that. So we've did a bunch of different programs with the Federal Judicial Center. They might be a possible ally in this too. Anyways, I think, if you want to react to those additional questions in the chat, that would be great. I'd love to kind of wrap up here because we're sort of running a tight schedule today. Sure. But this is a wonderful project, and please look to CodeX as a potential partner and friend in helping get the word out. And whenever there's any announcements to make or potential collaborators to identify, we would love to help you along the way wherever we can. So thank you so much for sharing this. This is the first time with us, and we're excited about it, and hopefully we can help along the way.
Thank you, Ron. I really appreciate that.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Jason, I saw you put your email in the chat. Miguel, if you're willing to drop yours in, there's a lot of people who have questions and offers of collaboration. So congratulations, great project.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you again. And now over to our last speaker today, who's Mirak from the Stanford NLP group.